Ladies and gentlemen, this is Breaker SC2, aka Yoey Flash Wolves Breaker, back with game number 2 between our Protoss in the upper left-hand corner. He did win game number 1 with some kind of, I guess you could say, cheesy mechanics on Alterzim Stronghold, the same map where we saw Yoey Flash Wolves has try and cannon rush Jaedong, Evil Genius's Jaedong, but that didn't quite pan out for him. Anywho, here he is, upper left-hand corner of Daedalus Point. DS Rush. And in the lower right-hand corner, spawning as his blue Zerg opponent,
Yoey Flash Wolf Slam.
By the way, I guess this would probably be a good time to go ahead and panhandle out for some donations. It would be nice if I did. It would be nice if I did get some. Not entirely necessary, but of course, I'm working on integrating a donations button, and that takes a PayPal Premium account to do it. I'm going to do a little bit more research and everything else. And I'm trying to bring you guys essentially the best in casting quality that I can. I think eventually, one day, all of my donations will go towards my retirement fund, my IRA, things of that nature. But that's it for the time being. Enough about me. This is, of course, being casted from replays. As you guys can see, there's no getting around that. But even though I was observing some of these games live as they were happening, not everything that happened in-game is something that I can remember 100% foolproof, so I wouldn't give it too much thought if I were you guys. And this particular game happened almost a month ago. It was the first weekend after I arrived in Taiwan, and I've just been so busy I haven't quite been able to keep up with what's going on. This is a little bit scary from my perspective as a Zerg player. We're watching a Protoss player go for a Nexus first, followed up immediately by a gateway at the choke, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That was a Nexus first, and a pylon going down in the forward position. No forge yet or anything else of that nature to allow for defense. This is looking much to the tune of a 3, possibly 4 gate forward pressure without Stargate and or Forge. And that will basically force units out of our Zerg player while our Protoss is able to both macro up and force units out of our Zerg. That's it. I mean, it's a little unfair once you stop and think about it. And as Artosis might say, this is imbalanced, but I wouldn't give it, again, too terribly much thought. Well, not too much to talk about right now. I do want to say that the weather in Taipei is actually quite beautiful. Been here now for about a month, and I'm working with TESL to not only cast their replays in English, but I'm also doing an English stream for their World of Tanks content, and I do it live from their very own studio. Very happy to do it, very happy to help them internationalize. But enough about me. It looks like this game is beginning to take shape. 4 Lings are gonna maybe not get into the main here. No, that's Elt's on hold position. They're not getting into the main, but this is kind of a late-ish third being taken by Slam, but of course he went for Metabolic Boost first. He has a, I guess you could say, a solid read into what's going on right now. But at the same time, I feel like this is something that you wouldn't typically see. This isn't one of the more orthodox Protoss openers, if that makes sense. And I like this move a lot. Throwing down a Stargate right there. This is basically just saying to Yoey Flash Wolf Slam, hey man, I don't want you going mutas. At least, not at this stage of the game. We could see Corruptors come in later. We could see a huge slam of mutas towards the late game if we see both players exchange their armies and there's enough in the way of gateway units that are taken down or enough in the way of Stargate units that are taken down, things like that. But this is looking like it might be a nice little pick off for Demon Sheep. He could actually get away with the Queen here. It looks like no, he's not. And it'll take, I think, maybe 2 Queens to, yeah, 2 Queens will definitely be able to deal with the Mothership Core. But it only takes a single Queen and a single Ling to actually deal with a Zealot, in case you guys didn't know that much already. The things you start to learn when you're in the Diamond League. Yeah. Roach Warden now on the way, and an Oracle will be the first thing that finishes up and comes out of the Stargate for Demon Sheep Rush, our very brave amateur. Third base is also on the way. That's a very early third, if I may say so myself. And it looks like a small wave of Lings is going to go out and try and deal with that as well. At least punish that, if that makes sense. And this one Oracle is just going to hang back here and provide some vision. And I think with only... Oh, no. Jeez. Well, this is not too good. Okay. Looks like that was a successful defense. The ray gun was tripped on that Oracle. It has just now been turned off, deactivated, whatever have you. Single probe does fall. So I guess that's kind of some good annoyingness coming from our Zerg so far. And kind of late-ish gases going down at the natural right now. The main looks okay. Honestly, I think Demon Sheep, if he was one of those players that practiced a little bit more, then he would probably... I think he could actually become like some lower code A GSL material, if that makes sense to you guys at all. There's one too many probes right here. Robo. Okay, Robotics Bay coming in. I won't give that too much thought. Like, I can't say particularly what our Protoss is going to go for at this stage because we don't know the gases. I do want to say that it could be a possibility that he'll go with some Colossi, but I can't say at just what time. We're going to have to wait and see what he does once this robotics facility is done in the next 15 seconds. But on 3 bases, I can tell you right now that like this could basically lead to some tier 3 tech very quickly. Let's wait and see. Just, I don't know. He's not made anything with that robotics bay yet. Oracle comes in here, tries to get some harass done, but only trips Revelation out. And I want to say that I think this is one of those builds where if we were to see our Zerg go with mass mutas, who'd be in a very strong position. Some of you guys might think that this is looking like a rerun of another TESL that I casted, but no, it's not, guys. Just rest assured, there's no Terrans in TESL, and that's why this may be looking like a bit of a rerun. Now, already we can see pathogen glands on the way from Slam, but I'm wondering if he's going to cancel that once Revelation basically disappears on this, but it looks like maybe not. Glial Reconstitution now on the way, and Centrifugal Hooks as well. That's Baneling speed. Not something that you see all that often in the ZVP matchup. At least I feel you don't see it all that often in the ZVP matchup. But that's quite a few Void Rays in the mix right now. And wait, what did I just... Hold up. Okay, so we got the robotics bay somewhere. There we go. Alright. Now, this is looking like a huge wraparound coming in, and the Queens and the Spinegoers are trying to get themselves into battle. And it looks like, I think Slam should be able to hold this, yeah, definitely. Most, of course, forced to trip a mass recall. And a few gateway units as well as Void Rays are just forced to back off at this point. +1 attacks now on the way for our Protoss, and I'm thinking with a +2/+2, yes, I was going to say this is looking a bit more like a Ling, Queen, Ultra, Infestor timing. And that's quite micro-intensive, despite what you guys might think. You have to land the fungal growths correctly with those Infestors. You have to make sure that the Ultras aren't getting clumped up, and you have to make sure that you're throwing down your transfuses on top of those Ultralisks at the same time. Now I'm thinking this has to be painfully apparent to our Protoss right now. And it looks like Demon Sheep is reacting a little bit too late by getting his charge. I wouldn't say right now that's not too terribly late, but I mean, if he wasn't able to identify it earlier, it's a little bit more difficult. 6 o'clock position. Drone is pulled off of that base. It was forced to cancel, and it looks like Demon Sheep is kind of putting our Zerg increasingly further behind. 7 Ultras now on the way, as well as Adrenal Gland's going to finish up at about 45 seconds, and I definitely want to say this base is in a lot of trouble. The Queen's going to have to get pulled back here, and Oracle coming into the mix. Revelation going down on all these units. Transfuse not able to be pulled. Lots of things. Actually, at the front lines, dealing with all these zealots, that's actually causing a lot of trouble to Slam. Really, and at this point, I would say it probably might be a good idea to switch into Ultras. The Queen's coming in here dealing with all of those drones, excuse me, the Zealots, and now it looks like the Natural, yeah, this is going to fall. There's no saving it whatsoever. But there's one behind it to kind of pick up for the mining time. There's going to be some delayed economy, no doubt, and now the Lings are trying to do what they can to stop the DTs. Overseer is morphing desperately right now. The question is, can he save that high? That is a lot of tech that'll put you really far behind. It does look like he baits out an engagement on that Spore Crawler, I guess you could say. And now, an Overseer here at the 4th base, and checking now the number of workers killed. I'm surprised, given the amount of harassment we've had to deal with thus far from our Protoss. That's, I wouldn't say absurd, but that is a lot of damage to take. And right now, I guess the one thing that Slam has going for him is absolutely surging army supply in comparison to that of his opponent. He's only now getting the first infestors into the mix, however, and if he can prevent the 4th base from going down, he'll be in a super baller position. Look at this. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten his +3/+3 started, considering he's on, you know, 3 base economy essentially. He can support that. Uh-oh, 4th base, exposed drones. And that's going to force Slam to come back home and defend. To be perfectly honest with you guys, Burrow is now being researched. And it looks like, yeah, those DTs aren't getting home. This reminds me just a little bit of the Wings of Liberty days. For some strange reason, I never made the Overseer and the two Spine Crawlers after a while with switching into Heart of the Swarm. I guess it might be because I've never had that time to actually stably play the game. But now we have a Greater Spire on the way, and that means Broodlords are going to come into the mix. Alright, so the Natural, we're going to have a few Lings try and swing in there. This positioning, I would say it's definitely not a good idea for Slam to attack into this. But it might be a good idea for him to, you know, just trip that Photon Overcharge, because of course that's one less time warp that we have from our Protoss player. And with that staggering lead that he had earlier, if he'd simply had some static defenses up, then I think it would have been a good idea for him to go ahead and start attacking his opponent head on. Okay. 6 Lings in the, or excuse me, 6 Queens in the mix, 5 Infestors, and that's a lot of Ultras. And I think right now the correct decision for Demon Sheep is to go ahead and continue making what he's making. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Void Rays, of course, can't be shot by Ultras. Queens will, of course, be able to shoot. Well, they'll be able to deal with them. And this is a nice little, I guess you could say, nice little throwaway. But he didn't get the Infestor in the end. That's essentially his whole plan with the DTs here. Okay. Problem is, once they are scouted, they actually. Ouch! Wow. Is he gonna get that other Infestor? Okay. So right now, Demon Sheep's just being super annoying, even here with this harass at the Natural. And the reaction timing of Slam is just beautiful, to be perfectly honest with you. But that Greater Spire is going to fall, and I don't think there were any Broodlords. No, are there? Am I wrong? There are no Broodlords, so he never had a chance to make any Broodlords. The other Spire got shut down, as unfortunate as that may be, but now there's 2 more Spires being made at about the 3rd position. The position of the 3 o'clock. At the position of the 3rd, if that makes sense. And a 5th base was established behind this. But that Warp Prism coming back around again. Alright, so that's a lot of Zealots there, and quite a few TTs as well, but there's static protection here. There's more Spine Crawlers here to deal with the situation, and I think Slam's going to be just fine here, but... Uh-oh. Okay. I thought I saw the base getting focused down. Oh no. Main's in trouble, I'm thinking. Yeah. Here we go, sorry about that. Production tab, get back up. Oh boy, upper right base, double Warp Prism style. This is basically DS just dancing around his opponent right now. And I think he's doing a damn good job right now. If that's cool, excuse me, if that's spawning cool falls. There's no more, you know, static defenses that can be made. Double Spire finishing up. Hive is still an option though, so that means if you can just make a greater Spire, he'll be okay. An Infestation Pit did fall and all of that. And it looks as though that second Warp Prism has been caught and shut down. So overall, I guess you could say good job coming from DSvsSlam. Demon Sheep House altogether about seven Immortals there, and I don't know, geez. I'd say definitely getting Broodlords into the mix would be one of the best decisions Slam could make presently, but at the same time we can see a Fleet Beacon coming down from Demon Sheep. Oh boy. Spine Crawlers did finish here, but there's no creep, and that's actually going to hurt that a little bit. And this is an engagement that I don't think we should see Slam going into. I mean, all those Immortals were cornered, that one Archon in the front tanking for all the splash damage that they do, but at the same time, you know. Greater Spire now on the way. More and more Overseers on the way as well. And I think overall Slam's goal here is going to be just to bank. And he's doing a damn good job at banking right now. Because despite the fact that we've had Demon Sheep doing so much in the way of harass, he's just... I think it's just been mostly throwing away supply and things like that. Look at this. Resources lost is actually quite high in favor of Slam for the time being. I mean, even though just now that harass in the upper right was essentially just Zealots being thrown away, that still stacks up. That adds up. That's resources that our Protoss is not going to get back. And I guess you could say this is going to be the death ball of choice coming from our Protoss, and just now we saw this implied trick coming from Slam to get some Broodlords into the mix, and I want to say, like, the only thing that really troubles me right now, the only thing that makes me wonder right now is that enough in the way of anti-air on in the army of Yoey Flashwolf Slam? We'll have to wait and find out for the next engagement, but I want to say, as long as those Broodlords are in the mix, we're going to see an engagement that becomes extremely difficult for Demon Sheep to really be able to take. The Broodlings are going to just work away at those Immortals Hardened Shields, even with the nibbles, but here we go. That's a good number of Tempests in the mix. We're all together. Fungal Growth going down on top of everything. They're all wearing green hats right now, and it looks like Slam is going to be forced to back off. He doesn't have quite the unit composition to deal with this, because of course that is a lot of Tempest in the mix, and there's also a real Mothership in the mix as well, which means free cloaking to all these units. In the end, it looks like we're going to have 3 Ultras going to the natural of our Red Protoss. Get some harassment done, and feedback's going down all in wild fashion, seriously putting a stop on all these queens. And now it looks like the Broodlords are getting caught on the retreat, and there's no more remaining. This is basically going to be a fight that becomes incrementally more difficult for Slam, and I don't know, I think maybe his one and only chance would be if we were to see Demon Sheep engage into the Spine Crawler wall right here. That's about 6 or 7 of them, and a lot of these units here are actually very short-ranged attackers. The Immortals and the Zealots. It looks like, oh, no Fungal Growth. 1 Fungal Growth, 2 Fungal Growths will go down. feedback going down on all the overseers and everything else in between. And it looks like that one spine crawler is doing so much in the way of work back. And these ultras are now basically non-existent. The corruptors are going to be able to take down all these tempests. And it looks like Slam has done it. The broodlords finishing it back are going to eliminate any anti-air on the ground. And that was just absolutely beautiful. But at the same time, I think it was all from a bad scout coming from our Protoss. Amazingly, still one Ultra going to town on that natural. And Slam holds his 5th base yet again with all those spine crawlers again. My God, where are we at right now? 20 minutes and 20 seconds. This is turning into something really crazy, and I think Demon Sheep has basically been overrun. It's 94 supply to 182. That one Immortal trying to get out and deal with those Ultras just can't. Zealots warping in desperately in the main, but I think this is, again, something that Demon Sheep just can't stop. The max, you know, just the absurd remax time of a Zerg is something that can't be matched by a Protoss. That Artosis pylon does get knocked down, and I think Demon Sheep is just wondering to himself, okay, well, I'm gonna come back to the next. It's the only reason why he hasn't GG'd out yet. He should know that there's no coming back from this. Or is there? I don't see what he's doing just yet. Stargates aren't making anything. He's making High Templar where he can, but essentially right now I think he's just stalling for time and thinking, how do I beat this guy? Okay, so the Fleet Beacon gets replaced again, but I mean, it could entirely be the case that Demon Sheep is thinking, alright, well I have to try and beat him no matter what, because this is my tournament life on the line. But there it is finally, the GG goes out. 56 supply to 192, holy cow, guys. This, I think, once we stop in retrospect and think about how this game ended, I want to say that it's got to be from, I think, ineffective harass. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's, I mean, once you stop and think about it, yes, he did take down a couple of bases, but he lost a lot in the way of resources in doing so. And, I mean, that's just the way this game panned out. So, guys, this is Breaker SC2. Follows on Twitter appreciated. Donations as well, also appreciated. Don't go away. We'll be back with game number 3 in just a moment.